Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we bring you another special guest. His name is Piers, and he's the business development and partnership manager at StoreFund, which is actually a very nice service when it comes to cash flow solutions for your Amazon business. And what a better topic actually, which is cash flow. We know in Amazon, cash flow is king. I mean, if you don't have the cash flow, you can deal with inventory, advertising, and basically the whole business model. So it will be interesting to see how we can implement services such as StoreFund to basically help you with these issues, right? So let me welcome you to the show, Pers. It's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Yeah, thanks for having me, Vincenzo. Pleasure to be here. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I've been knowing you for a while now. We've been meeting multiple times here in London. Pretty much at all events we see each other, which is great. And I know you basically just started a couple of months back with this new company, Storefront. I'm very excited what you guys have to offer. But before we jump into that, if you want, just give us a couple of minutes about how you basically got started into the commerce space, how you landed in Storefront, and then for sure highlight why people should start using this on their Amazon business. Yeah.
For sure. So look, I've been at StoreFund now for just over 3 weeks. So I'm still being referred to as the new kid on the block.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been working in the sector for a bit longer. So like you said, it's been great to kind of form this friendship with you. And, it's great to interact at all the events that go on in the UK. I started off working at AVASK when I first made the stepping stone into e-commerce. So I was working in international business development for AVASK. And following a year and a half at AVASK, I switched over to Thrasio, where I was leading the company's biz dev efforts in the UK and Europe.
The big guys.
Yeah, the big guys, the growth engine.
Yeah.
E-commerce giant.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I guess long story short, I was affected by the layoffs at Thrasio, and I got connected to StoreFund's chief revenue officer through a mutual connection. Awesome. Fast forward a couple of meetings where I got to witness the product, meet the exec team, learn more about the trajectory of the company. It was a complete no-brainer, really, for me to jump on board. One of the biggest lures of the business was just to see how it had grown organically since its inception. The pedigree for some of the team here is immense, and the product matches. So it's amazing to be here. Happy to have landed in such kind of a great firm.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the nice things of StoreFund, as you mentioned, is that it's one of those companies that they have managed to grow organically because they're doing such an amazing job that you guys you didn't need to do any advertising, and basically the business was just word of mouth, and that basically shows the value that you guys provide to basically the commerce community, right? And I would like to start touching on some of that right now. I think StoreFund is such an amazing thing when it comes to cash flow solutions, because I feel like a lot of people, especially in the Amazon ecosystem, struggle a lot with the cash flow, right? We know that Amazon basically pays you every 2 weeks. And maybe when you're getting started and your volume is low, you can handle that. Maybe a few thousands is fine. But once you start moving big volumes, we know it can be a game changer, specifically if you want to keep up with basically everything that is going on in the Amazon ecosystem. So if you maybe start highlighting what is StoreFund about, what are your services, and for sure some of the benefits as well.
Yeah, for sure. Look, you put it perfectly. Cash is king. And when you're running an e-commerce business, naturally you want that business. And this is not just on e-commerce, but generally, I think if you set up a business, you don't want it to fall dead in the water. You want to see it grow. And growth burns cash, right? So, if you're looking to expand and scale and accelerate that growth, you need some form of cash to do it. StoreFund is one of many solutions to get cash into your business. You've got your own equity, you've got credit lines, you've then got cash advancements, which is what we do. Our solution is a really simple one: sell today, get paid today. So what we've been doing has been around for centuries, but what the team at StoreFund have done is an amazing job at digitizing a solution and bringing it into the 21st century, which is driven by API integrations and tech stacks. So that's really enabled us to target the e-commerce sector and offer these cash advancements to e-commerce sellers without the hassle of kind of doing any data submissions or any payment requests. So it makes it much more seamless and easy for people to actually access working capital that they need in their business.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think the fact that you get paid the same day, that's especially, let's say, on Prime Day. Imagine all those sales coming up on Prime Day, and you need to, most likely, most people need to reorder the inventory. If you don't have a solution like this, you will have to wait 2 weeks from Prime Day to get that revenue to then do something with the money. But the fact that you could just same day get your basically cash from that day, that for most people was very good. You could definitely take advantage and start reinvesting in your business, right?
Yeah, you're completely right. You know, Prime Day is one of many key kind of events, parts of the year where people really try and ramp up their sales efforts. So I suppose next we've got Halloween, and then the classic holiday season. You know, Q4 is normally the busiest time for everyone, and it's making sure that you're stocked up and you're not going to run out of inventory at a critical time in the year.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's start touching basically the comparison between your service and what we call traditional loans, right? Because I guess some people may ask, why would I use this service in comparison to a traditional loan? What are some of the key benefits? So can you also highlight that for our audience today? Why is a better solution overall on that perspective?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I don't want to sit here and kind of talk negatively about loans, because loans can be an amazing solution for the right person and in the right situation. Many sellers do compare our product to a loan. It's not either or. So loans and daily cash advancements can actually be complementary or supplementary. You know, if I'm to do kind of a short explainer, I guess the former, you know, a loan does change the capital structure of the company, whilst the latter, in the form of a cash advancement, does not. So when you're adding debt to your business, you're making it more fragile. You become susceptible to certain dangers, and debt can definitely pose a threat to anyone's business. And I think if you look at the time that we're in at the moment, with inflation kind of all-time high, interest rates that are high, there's a lot of uncertainty and volatility, and no one really knows how long this phase of volatility is going to last. So I think people at the moment are very focused on making sure that they're just preserving the cash that they've got, rather than adding more longer term commitments to the business. So it's a bit more of a risk-free service, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you touched something very interesting, which is everything that's going on with inflations and currencies that are all fluctuating like crazy. I think that's also a very important thing to bring to the table, because I think if you basically, let's say you are selling on US dollars and you are based in Europe, up to the point that you get those US dollars after 2 weeks, the currency may have changed drastically. Where using a service such as Storefront, you can take advantage of taking the money the same day and then use that to your advantage in terms of making sure you don't lose a lot into what we call the exchange rate, right? So I would like to also see if you guys offer some kind of solution around that. Is I know you guys work on multiple currencies, so it would be nice to know which marketplace you guys support, which currencies, and if you actually also support with the exchange rate, because we know Amazon exchange rate is not good. So I would like to also hear your take on that.
Well, because we started in Europe, what we needed to ensure was that our product catered for businesses based all over the world, as we knew not doing so would really hamper our kind of ability to grow, basically. So I'd say, you know, it's a key differentiator for Storefront over perhaps some of our peers, is that we're a truly global company. We can onboard businesses from practically anywhere in the world. You know, we have customers that are based in the US, in the UK, in the Eurozone, Hong Kong, UAE, China, Australia, New Zealand. The list goes on, basically anywhere. And we could also deal with currencies from anywhere as well. So you know, we can deal with withdrawals in different currencies. All of our customers benefit from mid-market rates. So you're probably going to be looking at about a 0.something% conversion rate, rather than maybe, you know, 2, 3, 4%. So that's an important point to focus on, actually. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, I think that's super important because I guess some people may have that question like, yeah, I can take the money same day, but if the conversion is not good, what's the point? So it's great to highlight that. Now, I think for sure this service is also tailored to some specific type of business. And what I mean by that is that there's certain criteria, right? So maybe everybody's watching this episode, they might be wondering, can I start using it? Is it the right time for me or not? So what usually would advise to people to take in consideration before deciding if a store fund is the right, basically they are the start in the good position their business to start using store fund, right?
Yeah. What I'd say about that is that our solution is probably going to be best, or definitely really is best for brands who are already on some kind of growth trajectory and have hit certain milestones in their business life cycle. So we don't tend to work with businesses that have just started. I'd say, you know, our existing customer base ranges really from maturing businesses. So I'd class those businesses having already hit 6 figures in annual revenues, right through to large enterprise sizes. So you know, we have people who are doing 7, 8, and a couple of 9-figure sellers as well.
Awesome.
I'd say, you know, the reason why our solution is tailored for businesses that are on a growth trajectory is because, firstly, if your business isn't already growing, then there probably isn't the demand for your product. And it's likely that you're not going to need the additional cash flow to restock or run PPC campaigns, etc. So I'd say, you know, if the business hasn't already hit those certain milestones, and profit margin definitely plays a factor here as well. I'd say, you know, that this solution is not going to be great for a loss-making business or a business that is actually, you know, diminishing rather than growing.
Yes, for sure, for sure. That's great. So that means, let's say somebody is hitting that criteria that we're mentioning, basically that within the volume that will make sense for them to enroll with your service. How will you actually describe the journey of getting enrolled with the service? So is something very straightforward, it's through an API? So because maybe people would like to understand how basically the whole process works in terms of enrolling their brand and the Amazon account with you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's fairly straightforward. And again, I suppose this is a key advantage over using a cash advancement over a loan, where traditionally you have a long approval process. Sign up with Storefund takes place over our website, and it's 5 easy steps. This is where, you know, you need to add personal and company information and document. So, you know, it's basic information like a proof of address, proof of identity, company and corporation certificate, things like that, just so that we can make sure that the company is legitimate. Once we have all that information, what we'll actually do is we'll schedule a call with one of our growth advisors. And that's purely to ensure that the sellers who are signing up get the most out of the service, and that what we're offering is tailored and bespoke to each individual client and their needs. Once we've had that call, which typically might take anywhere between kind of 20 minutes and 45 minutes, we will raise an engagement letter that's sent out for the seller to sign. And once that's signed, we can activate the services and start getting the API connected to Amazon so that we can read the sales data, which is, you know, a very straightforward process. We've done hundreds of times. I'd say normally it takes somewhere between 2 and 3 hours to authorize that.
Oh, okay. Very quick. Okay, that's very nice. And when it comes to the limits that it may have the service in terms of daily withdrawals, if a client is using the service, for example, every single day during a month period, is there any limits in terms of how many withdrawals you can do? Or if you want to do it 30 times per month, you can do it 30 times per month, for example, the withdrawals?
No limits whatsoever. But one of the nice kind of parts of this service is that it's completely flexible. So we do have sellers that have activated an account and then just use this during certain periods of the year. And again, that ties in quite nicely to that conversation we had earlier about Prime Day or holiday season. So you can turn this on and off as and when you need it and don't need it. We have no notice periods or no tie-ins either. So there are some people out there that will tie you in for 30 days, meaning that even if you don't need the service, you have to keep taking it for 30 days. So no, it's, you know, if it doesn't work out, you can walk away immediately. But what we've seen in most cases is that, you know, this is a solution to help fuel growth, and it does work. You know, we've seen it firsthand on hundreds of accounts.
That's great. That's great. And now that you're touching on those case studies in terms of people using your service, usually, what is the biggest benefit you see people using this for? Is it inventory, advertising? What is usually the main, you will say, avatar of the type of involvement people use your tool with? Yeah.
Well, it really depends on a case-by-case basis, and I kind of hate that answer because a lot of people use it, but it really is circumstantial, and it's down to the seller on how they use the proceeds that we're kicking out. You know, I'd say probably a lot of people use this as a way of restocking quicker. So rather than having to wait for 2 weeks to receive the proceeds from the sale that you've made, you can actually reinvest the proceeds immediately, get more stock. Ultimately, you have more stock to sell through, and you generate more revenue and hopefully more profit over time.
And don't go out of stock, which, you know, is the worst thing you can do on Amazon.
Well, yeah, people fight very hard for their IPI scores, so you don't want to see that fall off a cliff. So restocking is a massive reason, but, you know, also I'd say you can use this for running PPC or advertisement campaigns, launching new products, expanding into new markets. You know, there's a whole host of reasons.
And I think it will actually nice to also touch on the fees involved, because I think, just to do the comparison with the loans, I know the fees are very low, and it makes total sense to use a service like yours rather than a loan, because it's basically you're almost getting free cash to reinvest in your business rather than using the traditional loans, which we all know some of them are not the best option. So can you also touch on how is the fee structure for people that might wonder how it works in essence, basically?
Yeah, sure. Look, our fee is 1% to 2% of the seller's net sales, not the gross sales, which is what many of our peers offer in the same space. So, you know, when you consider platform costs in terms of commissions, PPC, fulfillment, along with potential refunds, you know, it can be a major saving that customers are taking advantage of. Our fee is basically applied on the Amazon balance that's funded per settlement period. So in Amazon's case, 14 days, for example. What we do, however, is always encourage sellers who have the transfer request button to hit that button as soon as it's available, and that will actually lower the effective rate of what you're paying. So 1% to 2% is the max. You know, if you have the transfer request button and hit that on day 3, you're going to be paying a much less effective rate.
I see. Yeah, that's very good, because I know some services they basically tell you to don't use that option.
It's a form of risk mitigation for us as well, right? We're being paid by the marketplace, so if we can be paid quicker, it's best for both parties.
Awesome, very nice. And now another thing I wanted to also touch, going back to the multiple currencies you can manage. So how is usually the if you can describe it, the interface in terms of, let's say a person takes the US dollars into their account, right, and they want to transform it into euros, are they going to be able to also from that same spot be able to do payments to other service providers, the manufacturers, and so on? Or usually you have to withdraw that and then make usage of that funding?
Yeah, so in the case where we're dealing with merchants that deal in different currencies and perhaps need to pay suppliers or service provider in different currencies, what we'd actually suggest is setting up what's called a currency wallet. We do that via our partners OFX. So OFX, like us, are an approved provider on Amazon. They're under disbursements. So we'd issue them through OFX a currency wallet. That way you can consolidate your currencies under one roof, and then you can pay suppliers in different currencies without having to actually deal with high conversion fees and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's super important, because I mean, to have basically under the same roof and be able to manage the currency is key, especially if you work in multiple currencies, which we know people said in Europe, USA, Mexico, it can become a nightmare very easily, right?
100%. Yeah.
Great.
Cash flow is king, and then currency is probably the next biggest headache, as well as everything else on Amazon.
100%, 100%. That's awesome. And so I think if there is any tips that you will give regarding cash flow, and basically combining this tool with an Amazon business. So basically some case studies that you could give to start concluding why people should be using your tool.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a lot of case studies that I could focus on here, but I guess still one of the main topics that I hear very frequently is about exiting at some stage. So I think, the true value of one's brand is realized when you get that multiple on your business and see those, 7 zeros in your account. So one of our private label sellers, for example, sold his business to an aggregator during the height of that craze towards the end of 2021.
The big multiple, 7-8 times, crazy numbers.
And it's a success story because when that client first came to us, that was kind of his North Star objective. That's what he wanted to do. And when he came to us, he just was nowhere near that stage. He was doing $10,000 a month, which, if you know the aggregator kind of investment criteria, is nowhere near that. Fast forward 2 years, his revenues had 20x'd, and he was doing 200,000 a month across multiple marketplaces on Amazon and also on other channels. And he actually ended up selling 3 of his brands. Now, he claims that he could not have done that without store fund service, which perhaps is a bit on the generous side. But it's one of those things. If you are looking to exit your business, actually debt may not be the best seen solution in the eyes of the buyer. So it's just something to consider there as well.
I think that's actually an amazing case study to start concluding today's episode, because I feel like I have seen that a lot with some of the brands we audit, that they want to basically prepare for exit. They start getting loans, they start getting investors of this, and then basically the debts start increasing significantly in the business. They can't pay it up, and then it becomes even worse. By using a solution like yours, you basically don't change the business structure. You use basically your same cash, just on a faster pace. And you can do something basically as your client, which is a good thing to see for sure. That's awesome. Great. So thank you very much, first. I think you basically highlighted everything that we had to discuss regarding your service. I don't know if there is something else you would like us to cover regarding some of the specific things that you think our audience might find useful before we conclude today's episode.
Look, we have a great team here. And anyone here would be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has in relation to our services. Even if it's not about our services, but just some general advice or suggestions around the topic of external funding or working capital. We're more than happy to help and can guide people towards the registration page if they would like to. For anyone that has attended this, then there's also a 2-week free trial that we're able to offer. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm at piers.eveleigh@storefund.com, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever's best, and then we can associate that trial to your account and get you set up.
Awesome. I'm gonna make sure to add all your links and everything in the description, and then if people want to reach out, so they can give it a try for sure. I mean, there is no risk. 2-3 weeks, why not, right?
Why not? You step into the unknown.
100%. So thank you very much for your time, Piers. Looking forward to having the feature to keep discussing for sure. I bet more features you're gonna be adding down the line.
And thanks again, Vincenzo. Great as always to speak to you, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other in person very soon.
100%. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Take care, man. Bye.